Time out.
12. Let's make it really clear. You come and ask for a yellow card, you get one.
Okay,
understand?
Yep.
If you scream at me in a rugby pitch, I'll send you off.
100%.
Thank you.
If you use that language again on the pitch, I'll send you off.
Refs are not lying down and taking attitude or abuse from players on the field.
That is not acceptable and not in the spirit of the game. You do not shout when you charge down.
Amidst the mayhem this afternoon, Luke Pearce has been cool as a cucumber.
Time out, please.
You are a very lucky boy that you're still on this field.
Well done from the ref. It just says you made a meal of that. Crack on.
But the sideline abuse, both verbal and physical, by adults to refs and those on the field, yes, this includes young children, isn't as easy to control and contain.
Ref, come on! Can you hear me? Take him out! Take him out!
When aggro parents let their emotions fly, it can ruin match day. Not just for the kids playing, but for the supporters and volunteer refs.
You could have been hitting it at full place, but you were slow. Too slow and too slow pass from back too. Come on, pick it up. Useless.
Kia ora, I'm Amanda Gillies, and on the detail today, sideline abuse and the new initiative to tackle it. Because right now, on the eve of the winter sports season, the sideline abuse stats aren't good. A new survey of Kiwi coaches and referees on sideline behaviour in children's team sports has revealed more than 60% have witnessed inappropriate behaviour at least once or twice a season. And most of this is verbal abuse directed at kids as well as referees and volunteers.
It's a little bit sad because it's occurring in social games. It's occurring in community sports where, the goal when I remember when I was playing right as a kid, it was to turn up and have fun, get the halftime oranges and to get the player of the day award afterwards if you could, That's what it was all about. Where now, what I'm experiencing and seeing is, just so much verbal abuse or, passion's fine and cheering's fine, but it's just the pressure that I see, people on the sidelines putting onto referees or putting onto players, and these players are children and volunteers. It's a bit concerning.
That's top New Zealand rugby ref Ben O'Keefe. He's been on the receiving end of plenty of abuse.
The country's premier referee, Ben O'Keefe, has revealed the extent of the abuse he's received on social media following Saturday's Super Rugby final. O'Keefe included a montage of some of the abuse, which included death threats, and one user going as far as to say, "I hope you get cancer."
We're all human beings, we want to do really good at a job that we've been given, whether it is refereeing rugby or doing anything else. And I think, you can build up what people say is tough skin, but no matter what, when you see your picture in the headlines or your name in the headlines, and even though you try and stop yourself, you read the comments, and it hurts, and it definitely hits you mentally. You have to build up great support around you to help. And lucky I've got a lovely fiance and lovely family and friends that can help me around that. But certainly it is difficult because you start those comments or the doubt starts creeping into your mind, and you start questioning yourself, you start questioning your ability, and you lose sight of the fact that, for example, I'm a really experienced referee. I'm really good at what I do. I work really hard at what I do. And while I'm not perfect, I am very, very good at my job. But often, you can forget that and you can lose sight of that. So it is difficult. And I think anyone that says that they're very good at handling it, you can be good at handling it, but it definitely can affect you during your time.
Have you ever had moments when you just think, I can't do this anymore, I'm just going to walk away from this role for good?
I've never had moments when I've thought of that, fortunately and luckily. I'm lucky that I love the job that I do. I think, the challenges that we are faced with it, I really like those challenges because it grows you as a person. It grows you as an individual, not just as a referee on the field, but, the things that you learn, you get exposed to make you a better person off it as well. So I love it for that fact, but I wouldn't be surprised if people, found themselves in a situation similar to what I was in or similar to that I've experienced before, and they just go, you know what? It's not worth it. And I'm going to move on to something better that doesn't have this type of pressure, has other pressures, but certainly not the pressures that potentially you face as a as a match official, as a referee.
To help stop abuse and to encourage better sideline behaviours, Ben is now the ambassador of a new initiative, Love Their Game, launched by Active, the regional sports trust for the wider Auckland region. It's already supported by North Harbour Rugby Union, Counties Manukau Rugby Union, Netball Northern Zone, Northern Region Football, Auckland Basketball Services, Auckland Water Polo and Tennis Northern. Collectively, this group reaches more than 100,000 participants.
Their goal is to make Auckland the most active city in New Zealand. Love Their Game is all about supporting positive sideline behaviour. So at community level, like making sure that our children, our kids are enjoying the game that they're involved with, and they continue to do it in the future by being supported by their parents and people on the sideline. And that's towards themselves, whether they're players or also whether they're referees too, which is big for me.
It's a timely reminder, he says, to respect that the game belongs to the kids and not sideline supporters. Key is improving the experience kids and teens have while taking part in sport and keeping them involved.
Go hard, 3-1. Useless! You could be much faster than that. Get it out! Get it out!
Poor sideline behaviour really affects kids' confidence and their motivation and their enjoyment of sport.
How do you think it affects young players when they're out there trying their best, when they hear parents yelling aggressively and screaming from the sidelines?
Well, I think it affects them a lot. I remember when I was, trialling for teams, and I was, 18, 19, so a lot older, and, I felt the pressure and the seriousness of it that probably I was putting on myself. And then imagine being younger and less capable, and then you have your parents or your friends' parents or just strangers, people you don't know, yelling and putting pressure and taking away the fun of what sport should be. And, what we've grown up with in New Zealand is sport should be exciting and fun and should be played with your friends. And I think when you take that element out of it, then it becomes really, really difficult.
Have you seen kids quit or know of kids who have quit sports because of this behaviour?
I've certainly known of kids that have quit sport, which is really, really sad. I know of referees that I talk to who contact me and they ask me for advice around how they can deal with certain situations where they've felt like they've been verbally abused, or there's too much pressure on things that they're doing in the weekend when they're just trying to be part of the game. So sadly, that definitely happens. I've seen that happen before. I mean, it's just not what you want, especially with our young children who they should be trying all these different sports out, and they should be entertaining themselves with it, and meeting new people, and it's a big part of, I guess, school and everything that they're doing during the week. So I have unfortunately seen a bit of it.
Have you seen it ever get out of hand where you've just looked at it and thought, hell, this is not good?
Fortunately, not yet in New Zealand on the sidelines. And I say fortunately because the way I see it going and, what we see on social media and media, that obviously all disseminates down at the community level. And we have started seeing some headlines of physical abuse on referees and maybe players that, has happened in the community. I've certainly noticed an increase in headlines over the last few years, sadly.
Oh, goodness me. There's an idiot on the field and he's attacked the referee. Could you believe this?
Whoa, what is that? That is atrocious.
Well, we've got a spectator on the field, and this is really, really poor stuff, this.
That is pathetic. Definitely pathetic.
And the reason I say it is sad is because, maybe I haven't experienced it or seen as much now, but I just feel like it is building. I feel like there is an environment that's being created, unfortunately, that is making it a little bit more normalised. It's definitely going in that direction, which I think we need to change, and that's what this campaign that Active are creating is trying to redirect.
So what are you doing? So as part of this, how are you redirecting this sort of anger and yelling and abuse from the sidelines?
He's been doing it all game.
I think a lot of it is raising awareness. So we want to support positive sideline behaviour. So, putting the message out there that, we want players, we want referees to enjoy their game that they're being involved with. And we need that help from the sideline. And the focus should be on themselves, enjoying the game that's in front of them, enjoying the children that are playing, supporting their children, supporting the referees, understanding that, they are their own kids, their kids' friends, the referees are volunteers. And, being a volunteer is the backbone of our community. We want them to succeed and have fun. So I think what we're trying to do is just raise the awareness, especially here in Auckland. And then if we can do that in, one of New Zealand's biggest cities, then we can spread that around the breadth of New Zealand as well.
It'll filter down. What do you think is driving this increase in appalling sideline behaviour?
Well, I think there's no limits around it at the moment. There's no sort of people with the awareness of where is the line? Where is the line between, good support, good passion, and when does it cross to abuse, negativity, and it's too serious?
But you were slow, too slow passing back too. Come on, pick it up. Useless. I taught
Come
you
on,
better than that.
boys, keep going. You can do it.
Just useless.
So I think that's first and foremost, I guess, what we're trying to create is, give good examples of what you should be doing on the sideline. So, a lot of that's in the actions that you do and the words that you can be talking to your child before, during, and after, or other children. If that can happen, then we'll get away from probably what, the direction that we're on, what social media is creating, what the media might be creating in terms of, publicising some of the worst stuff that we see, because there's a lot of positivity out there in the community in sport. And we just want to keep growing that and keep making sure that we're actually developing that in the right direction rather than the negative stuff.
When does it cross the line from being a passionate, encouraging, go get him, parent on the sideline? When and how does it cross the line into being that abusive, awful sideline member?
I think just like the language that's used, I think, the body language as well that can come across from a parent or anyone that's on the sideline, certainly when it gets physical. And, between the whistle, from the start to the finish, I understand, people can cheer and applaud, but, we'd love to see people just, as soon as that final whistle's blown, they just congratulate what a great game it was, win, draw, loss. I'm always a big fan of players or even supporters, thanking the referee, supporting the referee, telling them that they've done a great job. If we're doing that, it's fine. But certainly if we're crossing that line and the verbal abuse or even the physical abuse is directed at one person, the language that uses negative, inflammatory, then I think that's when, we need to be able to be in a position where we can identify that, pull those people in, talk to the right person that, is looking after that sport. There'll be a manager, there'll be an advisor, and just say, look, we think that there may be an issue here and we want to create a better environment for everyone.
And if we don't do this, if we don't address it and change things, what's your biggest fear?
My fear is a country like New Zealand where we've got such a proud sporting history, we start losing that. We have children that don't get outside and don't play sports. And, you'll lose a lot of fun and entertainment in your childhood. And, I've got a lot of really good childhood memories, and a lot of it was involved, with friends on a grassy field somewhere, kicking a ball, throwing something. And, it was a really, really cool part of my childhood and memory. So I think, I'd be scared that potentially that would change in the future for Kiwis.
This might be a difficult one to answer, but who are worse, mums or dads?
Oh, I don't think they're not gendered at all. I think everyone can be passionate, and I'm sure we've all been in situations where potentially we've felt ourselves go a little bit in the red or red-headed, and some people are better at dealing with that than others. And so it is an action that I think we're all probably aware of. I think the majority are really, really good at handling themselves and actually realise it and can support. Where it's the very few that we're actually trying to identify and say, look, it's not good enough. Let's try and support our kids on the field and the referees that are on the field as well.
Ben became a professional referee for the New Zealand Rugby Union 12 years ago, but started blowing the whistle in 2008 at the age of 19.
So we're just about set to go. It's Ben O'Keefe of New Zealand who will take centre stage.
Boys! Sir! Come up. We talked about this before the game, both hookers, okay? We're not going to be pre-engaged, we're going to have no leaning, okay?
France made it clear they were less than pleased with some of the refereeing decisions. Referee Ben O'Keefe made some calls that visibly frustrated the French.
Do you remember the first time you were ever abused while you were on the field?
And I grew up, my dad refereed as well. And, I was a child just sort of watching, my dad referee rugby. And I do remember times where, my mum, felt a little bit uncomfortable when people were yelling things at the referee, especially if they knew that we were sort of related to them. And I think I was always aware of it when I started refereeing and growing up that, there would be, lots of noise directed at me. You certainly don't hear a lot of it on the field, but, coming off, you do get a little bit, whether it's just glances or, people saying some things. So it kind of, in every level that you get higher to, like Super Rugby, international level, you're exposed to a lot more of that, and, especially with social media and that. So it's interesting. I don't really remember like a time where the first time it happened, it was just a gradual introduction. And it's because we don't really know where that line is. It's a moving line that we're trying to actually identify. So that's the first thing we're trying to do in this campaign, is actually know where is that line, and once you cross it, what can we do about it? Because it can be quite vague.
Because also, what we don't want is what happened to you just in the last couple of years when things got really bad.
Ben O'Keefe has today gone public with some of the abuse he's copped since refereeing Saturday night's game, saying it's one of many recent examples where someone's crossed the line. He has shared images of around 50 abusive messages he has been sent since Saturday night.
Talk us through that sideline, online abuse that was directed at you.
Yeah, and one of the great things about professional sport is that, you're put under pressure every game to make good decisions, and, we train really hard to do the best job that we can. There's always a winner, there's always a loser, and we're never perfect. Our job is to be high performance and to do as well as we can, but we can never be perfect. I've had it in, World Cups in France in 2023 where, there were perceived injustices, and, people do get rolled up about that. And, we're not perfect, as I said, so there's always things that we can be better at. But certainly with changes probably over the last, I think, decade, where the new players and the new referees we're having to deal with is the social media access and the online abuse that is really prevalent.
He admits sideline abuse can impact the ref's job.
There's certainly times where, you get mad when someone's yelling at you. Yeah, we're humans. Like if someone is telling me I'm doing a bad job and I think I'm doing a right job, you get angry at them, and it's really hard to sort of push it away. Obviously, I've done a lot of training in that, so you're so focused in the match. Potentially I'm refereeing in the weekends that you don't really hear that stuff on the sideline. But when you do, and when umpires and referees and community levels do hear that, it does affect your ability to process what's going on in front of you, because your mind, or part of your mind, is actually going towards that person on the sideline that 5 minutes ago said there was an offside where clearly there wasn't. So it is a bit of a skill to be able to develop. I know that there's been lots of referees sometimes, it'll be too much, and it's actually affecting the quality of the game that they're there to support, and they'll walk over to that person, maybe hand them the whistle. And I've yet to actually hear anyone actually accept that job when that referee or umpire has done that.
I don't think we've met before, but I'm the referee on this field, not you. Stick to your job and I will do mine.
That's your opinion, not mine, okay? But I'm the ref. If you want, we can change, okay?
Often that's quite an effective thing to do, but I think what people don't realise is that, referees are doing their best. They're trying to actually facilitate the game that's in front of them for both teams. They're the most unbiased person on that field. So when you do start yelling at that referee and, not supporting the game, you're actually affecting the quality of the game that you're there supporting in the first place. So, it's a big reason why I just say, look, just focus on the game, support the referee, and they're gonna be right 9 times out of 10, and that's a pretty good success rate if that's what they're doing.
Have you ever had to stop a game or remove a spectator due to abuse? Is there processes that you guys have to follow that about that is an option for you guys?
Yeah, we're always told at community level, and I'd always support this, that if there is too much abuse happening, obviously on field is a little bit different to off field, but if there is off field, there is always a community representative of that field that you can actually stop the game and talk to and ask that person to be removed. Generally, that happens pretty quickly and you can move on. And once that person's been released from the ground, you actually have a really good time. And I've seen that happen before and heard of stories where that's happened before as well. And, I've certainly had experiences if I've been an assistant referee on the sideline and, you might have a member of staff or a supporter that is saying something, and I'll normally just have a quiet word and just say, look, let them know what the effect of what their communication is having towards me, and generally that, obviously you give them the awareness actually face to them. That type of information has normally helped as well. So there's definitely some processes there, and I would always just say though that one thing we should never do is try and fight fire with fire, and try and use that sort of verbal abuse back at them, because that never works and just fires people up. And I think we're there to do a job, and part of the job is to facilitate the game. And if it means we have to facilitate the sidelines as well, then we have to do that too.
What would you sort of like parents to understand about the challenges of refereeing and what you guys are doing?
I think it's hugely challenging is to be a referee. I'd love them to understand that. Obviously, I'm sure they do understand that. Our job is to go out there to, facilitate the game. It's not to be perfect. So if your standards are that this referee should be perfect, then I think, you're going in there to fail as a good supporting person on the sideline. Even as a volunteer, I know that referees, they do so much work in their own time to learn the laws, to be in a good position, to be able to give the right hand signals so that everyone knows what's going on. And I'll guarantee that they've done a lot more. They are experts at their level to referee compared to potentially someone that is yelling at them on the sideline. So what I'd say is just, trust that person that's in the middle, that are going to do a really good job. Trust that they've done the work to be able to prepare well for this game. And trust that even though you may see differently the decision that they've made, there'll be a reason for that decision, and they'll be able to justify that after the game. And whether they were right or wrong, I think the main thing is that have they gone out and have they helped the game flow? Have they helped the children or kids that were involved enjoy the game? And the answer to that is yes. Then I reckon that's the biggest thing that referees can do and people can do if they realise that when they're supporting on the sideline.
Nice. Ben, are female refs, coaches, players targeted more, or is it fairly indiscriminate?
I think it's pretty indiscriminate. The one thing that people, targeting when they're targeting decisions on the field are the decisions. So regardless of, male or female, that's certainly, I think, the big thing that I've noticed, because we have very good male and female referees within New Zealand, which we're really fortunate about, some on the international stage, which is great too. And I think, unfortunately, it's all down to the decisions that they're making, and a lot of them are really, really good. So I don't think there's any difference, gratefully, especially in New Zealand, around that.
Now, what's your message or advice to sideline abusers, those who are listening today?
When you're going to support on the sidelines, be a supportive person. Get around your child or your child's friends and actually enjoy and encourage them to love the game they're being involved in. That's certainly what Active the campaign is doing, so love their game. And just by positive messaging, either beforehand, during and afterwards, you can have a big impact on your child loving the game they're involved in. And if we can spread more love around the game and be more involved in the game, we're going to get kids growing up loving sport and then encouraging their children in the future to be involved in sport as well, which is exactly what we want.
That's all for today. The Detail is a newsroom production supported by RNZ and New Zealand On Air. Thank you to Ben O'Keefe. This episode was produced by Gwen McClure and engineered by Alex Harmer. I'm Amanda Gillies. Mā te wā.